A political earthquake just hit Texas, reshaping the national election landscape for 2026 with, well, basically a stroke of a pen. Because today, August 29, 2025, Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed a brand new congressional map into law.
That's right. He actually hailed it as creating one big, beautiful map to make Texas, and this is a quote, more ready in Congress.
And look, this isn't just some local Texas story. This feels like a really strategic national power play.
Oh, absolutely. The design is explicit. Flip 5 Democratic-held seats over to Republican control.
All aiming for the 2026 U.S. House elections, which are, crucial.
Hugely crucial. And getting this map signed wasn't easy. It was a real political battlefield.
I remember watching it unfold. We saw those dramatic Democratic walkouts, threats of arrest. It was a fierce partisan fight.
It really captivated the country for a while there, and the ripples started immediately.
Yeah, this whole redistricting war idea, California, Missouri, they're already drawing up responses.
Exactly. So in this deep dive, we really want to unpack how this whole Texas maneuver happened, why it's so significant for upcoming elections, and frankly, what it tells us about the high-stakes game of map drawing nationwide.
Okay, so let's dig in. This wasn't the usual redistricting we see after a census, right? This felt different.
Totally different. This whole thing kicked off back in June 2025. And it seems to have been driven by a very clear national goal.
National goal, meaning?
Our sources point to former President Donald Trump directly urging Texas Republican leaders to redraw the state's congressional map mid-decade.
Wow. Okay, so that's direct intervention from the top, specifically aiming for national control outside the normal census cycle.
Precisely. It signals a potentially new, more aggressive approach.
So it wasn't really about population shifts within Texas then, more about the bigger picture, the national chessboard.
That seems to be the driving force. I mean, I recall reading Governor Abbott initially had some, say, skepticism about doing this mid-decade.
Right. But then there was that phone call.
Exactly. A direct call with former President Trump apparently alleviated his concerns. The mission became pretty straightforward after that.
Secure 5 more Republican seats in the House. Simple as that.
Simple goal, maybe, but the process? How do they actually push that through legislatively?
Well, it moved surprisingly fast once it got going. Governor Abbott called that special session for July 9th.
July 9th, okay. And wasn't there something interesting about the reason given for the session?
Yeah.
Something about a DOJ letter.
Yes, that's a really key point. The official justification cited a letter from the U.S. Department of Justice.
And the letter was about the old map.
Right. It mentioned discrimination concerns in 4 majority and minority districts from the previous map.
Which is interesting because it allowed Abbott to publicly acknowledge that, yeah, maybe some districts were drawn along strict racial lines. That was a bit of a shift in tone for this state.
A significant shift. And it gave him, well, a convenient political justification to start over, didn't it? Frame it as fixing a problem, not just a power grab.
Exactly. A necessary correction, you can argue, rather than purely partisan maneuvering. Smart politics, perhaps.
So, okay, the special session is called. A new committee gets set up, chaired by Representative Cody Vasut. What happened then? Smooth sailing.
Definitely not smooth sailing. But it was decisive. The Texas House passed the new maps on August 20th. Pretty clear party line vote, 88-52.
Okay, 88-52 in the House and the Senate.
The Senate followed just 3 days later, August 23rd. Passed it 18-8. Again, along party lines.
And that brings us to today, August 29th, with Governor Abbott signing it into law. A new electoral map for Texas, just like that.
Well, not just like that, given the fight, but yes, the outcome is a new map.
Let's zoom in on that map itself. What's the immediate impact? Who or which districts are directly in the crosshairs?
Okay, so the map specifically targets 5 seats currently held by Democrats. We're talking about Representatives Mark Veazey, Greg Abbott, Lloyd Doggett, Julie Johnson, and Al Green.
Those 5 specifically?
Yes. But it's not just about flipping those individual seats. The map also does some clever shuffling. It pushes several Democratic incumbents into the same districts.
Setting up those potentially bruising primary fights between Democrats.
Exactly, weakening them before the general election even starts. And it also carves up communities. It splits voters of color in Tarrant County, for example.
And what's the overall result in terms of district makeup?
The new configuration creates 2 majority white districts, 2 majority African American districts, and 1 majority Hispanic district. And interestingly, state Republicans are actually estimating that Hispanic voters in 3 districts will lean Republican, especially if Donald Trump isn't on the ballot in 26.
So they're banking on specific voter behavior shifts, and they weren't exactly shy about the map's purpose, were they?
Not at all. Senator Phil King, among others, openly stated the map was designed to, and I quote, improve Republican political performance and simply elect more Republicans.
Very direct. But of course, the Democrats didn't just stand by. Their response was, well, pretty dramatic.
Oh, absolutely. From the start, Texas Democrats made it clear they were going to fight this. They talked about filibusters, delaying tactics.
But the big move was the walkout.
That was the nuclear option, really.
Yeah.
On August 3rd, most of the House Democrats just left the state, flew out.
To deny the Republicans quorum, right. To physically prevent them from holding a vote.
Precisely. They scattered to places like Chicago, New York, met with Democratic governors, trying to make it a national issue.
That walkout definitely grabbed headlines. Must have cost a fortune, too.
It certainly wasn't cheap. Reports mentioned a U.S. $20 million Lone Star Fund set up to support them, plus a couple million on an ad campaign.
Wow. $20 million.
Yeah, and you even had U.S. representatives like Jasmine Crockett saying they'd personally chip in. It shows just how high they felt the stakes were. This wasn't just symbolic.
So how did Governor Abbott and the Texas Republicans hit back against this unprecedented move?
Swiftly and pretty hard. Abbott demanded they return by August 4th. He threw out threats of removing them from office.
Based on a non-binding legal opinion, I think.
Right, and warned about potential bribery charges if they use fundraising to pay the daily $500 fines he wanted to impose. He even mentioned extradition, though legally you can't extradite someone for breaking quorum.
Still, strong words. And the House took action, too.
They did. On August 4th, the House voted 85-6 to issue civil arrest warrants for the absent Democrats. Now, those couldn't be enforced outside Texas, but it sent a clear message.
And didn't Senator Cornyn get involved? Something about the FBI.
Yeah, that was another escalation. Senator Cornyn stated the FBI had agreed to help find the lawmakers. And things got even uglier. There was apparently a bomb threat at a hotel in Illinois where some Democrats were staying.
Jeez. That really shows the intensity, just raw political power versus determined opposition. So what eventually broke the standoff? Why did the Democrats come back?
Well, most of them returned on August 18th. The timing seems linked to news coming out of California. A hint that a countermove or retaliatory redistricting was potentially brewing there.
The plot thickens. So they came back, but under what conditions?
Pretty strict ones. Reports said they needed written permission from the speaker just to leave the House floor. They were even being escorted by public safety officers. Representative Nicole Collier actually filed a lawsuit challenging those rules.
So even back in the building, the fight wasn't over.
Not by a long shot.
Right.
Democrats, voting rights groups, coalitions of Black and Latino voters, they all immediately pledged to challenge this new map in court.
Arguing it dilutes minority voting strength, violates the Voting Rights Act.
That's the core argument. And it's moving fast. A 3-judge panel is apparently set to hear arguments in October, which is cutting it close, given the filing deadline for 2026 is this December.
Okay, so the Texas battle was fierce, but as you mentioned, the ripples went national almost immediately, this redistricting war idea. California fired the first shot back.
You could say that. It was a very direct response. Governor Gavin Newsom and California Democrats didn't just talk about it. They started moving on retaliatory redistricting. Newsom signed measures to put a proposal before California voters. The proposal: a new map designed specifically to add 5 Democratic-leaning seats.
5 seats, explicitly to cancel out the Texas gains.
Exactly. Tit for tat. That map goes to the voters there in November. And Newsom didn't hold back. He called Governor Abbott Trump's #1 lapdog for signing the Texas bill.
Strong words. And it wasn't just California, right? Missouri jumped in too.
That's right. Following Texas's example, Missouri's Republican Governor Mike Kehoe called his own special session for redistricting.
Targeting whom?
His proposed map specifically goes after the Kansas City area district of the Democratic Representative Emanuel Cleaver. It stretches it out into heavily Republican rural areas.
Aiming for what kind of advantage?
The goal seems to be a 7-to-1 Republican majority in Missouri's congressional delegation. Kehoe framed it, predictably, as defending Missouri's conservative common-sense values.
This really does feel like a cascade, not just isolated fights. Are other states watching, maybe planning their own moves?
It certainly looks that way. This isn't just Texas, California, Missouri anymore. It's becoming a wider and, frankly, quite alarming trend. You could almost call it a redistricting arms race.
An arms race? That implies it could just keep escalating.
That's the worry. This cycle of reactive map drawing could destabilize things, constantly changing the rules of representation. We're hearing Republican officials in places like Florida, Indiana, Ohio are considering revisions too.
And Democrats elsewhere.
Yep. Similar discussions reportedly happening among Democrats in Illinois, Maryland, New York. Maryland even debated a bill that would automatically trigger redistricting if another state did it mid-decade.
Wow, an automatic trigger.
And New York introduced legislation allowing mid-decade changes, maybe for 2028. And look at Utah. A judge ordered the legislature to redraw maps after finding they'd undermined a voter-approved independent commission. So it's happening across the board.
It's clearly spreading. Is anyone trying to put the brakes on at the federal level? Stop this war before it gets totally out of hand.
There's been at least one attempt. Representative Kevin Keeley, who's actually a Republican from California.
Interesting.
He introduced a bill to ban mid-decade redistricting nationwide. Though it's worth noting, his focus seemed mainly on stopping California's potential move, rather than the Texas one that started this round. Probably because his own seat might be at risk if California redraws.
Politics is complicated. Okay, this all comes back to drawing lines on a map. For listeners who might not be deep in the weeds on this, what is gerrymandering fundamentally? Why is it such a big deal?
Right. So, at its core, gerrymandering is basically drawing electoral district maps to deliberately give one group, usually a political party, an unfair advantage. It's about using geography to lock in political power.
Unfair advantage. And the courts, what do they say?
Well, the Supreme Court has said, yeah, extreme partisan gerrymandering seems undemocratic. But they've really struggled to define a clear legal standard for when it becomes unconstitutional. So mostly, these fights end up in state courts or rely on state laws.
It sounds like it's been a political tool for, well, forever.
Oh, it has. Since the founding of the country, basically. The term itself comes from way back in 1812.
But something's different now, isn't it? Is it just more effective?
That's exactly it. What's new, and frankly kind of scary, is the scale and the precision. We have incredibly powerful computers now, combined with huge amounts of detailed voter data.
So map makers can target voters almost house by house?
Pretty much. They can pinpoint supporters and opponents with amazing accuracy. It makes gerrymandering vastly more potent than it ever used to be. It's like a perfect storm for manipulating electoral outcomes.
And how does this apply to what just happened in Texas? Experts have called that map pretty extreme, even compared to the last one.
They have. Political scientists, legal experts. They point out that the previous Texas map was already seen as one of the most aggressive gerrymanders in the U.S. And the consensus is this new one is, quote, even more gerrymandered.
Using those classic techniques, cracking and packing.
Exactly. Those are the main tools. Cracking means you take a group of opposition voters and spread them thinly across many districts so they can't form a majority anywhere.
Diluting their influence.
Right. And packing is the opposite. You cram as many opposition voters as possible into just a few districts. They win those districts by huge margins, but it means their votes are wasted in the sense that they don't help contest other surrounding districts.
So you maximize your own party's chances elsewhere. It sounds almost like a game strategy.
It often gets described that way, and there's this concept of durable majority gerrymandering, too.
Durable majority? What does that mean?
It means the maps are drawn not just for the next election, but to keep one party in power for a long time, even if public opinion starts to shift against them.
So they build in a buffer.
Essentially, yes. The Texas map, for instance, is reportedly designed to, quote, continue to perform well for Republicans, even if there are future vote swings that favor Democrats. It's a long-term entrenchment strategy.
Okay, so if gerrymandering is seen as this problematic, powerful tool, what are the potential fixes? How can we make redistricting fairer?
Well, there are a few main ideas out there, though none are perfect fixes. One popular one is independent redistricting commissions, like they have in California.
Taking it out of the hands of politicians.
That's the idea. Let a nonpartisan body or a panel of experts draw the lines. But even those commissions can face political pressure, lawsuits, arguments about who gets appointed. It's not always smooth.
Okay, what else?
Sometimes the courts step in. If a map is challenged, say under the Voting Rights Act or state constitutions, a court might order it redrawn or even appoint a neutral expert, a special master, to draw a new map.
Judicial intervention.
Right. And another idea involves more structured political input, maybe letting the parties take turns proposing maps under very specific fairness criteria, trying to find a balance, basically.
So several potential paths, but none seem easy.
No easy answers when the stakes are this high.
Okay, Let's try and bring this all together for everyone listening. We've seen Texas Republicans, with a nudge from former President Trump, successfully push through this aggressive new congressional map,
A map explicitly designed to add 5 GOP seats for the 2026 midterms.
which triggered this massive fight, the Democratic walkout, and now this escalating redistricting war with states like California and Missouri jumping in with countermoves.
Yeah, it's about way more than just lines on a Texas map. It's fundamentally about the balance of power in Washington, D.C. It's about future policy, who controls committees, everything.
And the legal fights are really just getting started. October hearings, the 2026 elections looming. As these maps get redrawn, not just in Texas, but potentially across the country, it really forces you to ask, doesn't it?
It really does.
How do these strategic, sometimes cynical shifts in district lines, how do they end up shaping your representation? How do they shape the actual direction of the country? It's a deep dive that honestly feels like it just keeps going deeper. The fight over these lines is far from over.